everyone, Mike Mustafa is here. In this video, I will give you a tour of Microsoft Visual Studio 2019 Integrated Development Environment known as IDE. In simple language, IDE means editor, a tool that we use to develop C# and other type of Microsoft projects. Of course, I will be focusing only on C#. So let's start. As you see, I am going to fire up Visual Studio 2019, and after that we will see features of this IDE. After the initial screen, we will see several options available to us. Of course, in this case, what we would like to do is to focus on C# environment only. So the first thing that we want to do is to create a new project, and a new project could be in any programming language, and at this time we haven't really selected the platform yet. So this IDE is available for all languages within Visual Studio. As you see on the top, it says all languages. So we want to find something that is related to C#. So let's go ahead and type WinForm. Of course, I'm doing that just for the first time. Windows Form Application.NET Framework for C#, Windows and desktop application is available. I clicked on that, and I need to find a meaningful name. For this one, I'm going to put just my WinForm. And make sure that you place that in the right directory. Mine is C user Mike. We don't want to change any other setting, and after that just click on OK. So Visual Studio is using the setting in order to create a form, which is a place that we put all of our controls in it. With this setting, Visual Studio is going to create a form for me, and this is a form which you can consider it as a tray that can hold all other controls such as text box and buttons or labels. Later on, you see that I can add objects into this form. This form by itself is an object as well. So this is a form. The other area that I am just pointing at, and I will zoom so you can see that better, is known as a Solution Explorer, or simply a solution window. Inside that, you will see icons that are designed to do specific tasks right there. Inside the solution window, you see the name of the solution, and then the name of the project, and some files. So in order to understand the hierarchy of solution, a project, and files, I put together this graphic to show you the structure of solution, projects, and files. It's like a file cabinet with drawers, and then each drawer will have some folders or files inside them. So that is how Visual Studio treats this Solution Explorer or solution window. The next area that requires our attention is actually a property window. Property is basically something that objects can be identified with, such as color, size, name, and all other characteristics of an object. So if you look at the icons, one of them shows A to Z, means that you can sort these properties alphabetically. And the first one that you see is actually the identification or the name of that, and then you can have icons, add icons for that later on. We will do that. And then the one that I want to change here is the title of this form. Let's put my first window. Okay. So you will notice that as soon as I do that and then click anywhere on the form, the title of the form is going to change to the new text that I just inserted. And as you see, it says my first window. Of course, next to that, you will see a place for adding icons as well. Just on the top, you also see the menu bar that has many different functionalities. Later on, you will see that if we want to code the program, we click on View Code, and the code page is going to open. And as you see, Visual Studio has already placed some directives or standard codes for us, so we can basically start the program without the need to code these sections all over again. You will see namespace, which is actually the name of the solution, and of course other sections that you will see them later on. So if we go back to the form and just double click it, then we get into the code section of that specific object. And for this one, form 1 load is basically the method that we will be using later on. But just for your information, you should know that form load is a method that will be executed once the program starts running. So there are a few terms that we want to be familiar with: class, object, properties, method, and event. Class is actually like a stamp, a rubber stamp, that we use in order to create objects. It's also known as a blueprint for object-oriented programming. Object is something that we can actually describe, and we describe an object by its properties, like color, like shape, like size, like name, and many other specifications or characteristics that can be used in order to describe something. Method is something that the object is tasked to perform, such as displaying, for example, a message or changing the color, something that basically we want that object to do. C# is also an event-driven programming. An event is actually specific behavior of that object, such as, for example, click, double click, moving mouse over an object, moving mouse away from an object, and many other characteristics. So C# has created a toolbox for us that we can go and find the objects that we want in that toolbox and drag them to our form. And the toolbox is very, very handy and has many different objects in it. So once we find the tool that we want to use, we just go ahead and drag them or double click them, and they will be added to our form. So let's start and click on the toolbox. And as you see, there are some objects ready for us, and a button, for example, is one of them. And if we don't know what tool we are looking for or the location of that, we can actually type that, like for example button, and as soon as we do that, radio button and button are going to show up. So let me clear the search, and just as you see, there are many of tools available for us, So in this case, button is the one that I want to use, and I can basically drag and drop it on the form. Okay, let me do that once again. So as you see, a class is going to be used in order to create these identical objects. So what we want to do, we are going to highlight or just click on the object once and then customize the object according to our needs. So let me highlight button 1, and then I'm going to go to the property box that I showed you, and then as you see, name, and I'm going to use a naming convention. So instead of just button 1, I'm going to put test button. Okay, that is for the name of this object. We will use that in some of the objects that we have. The other property that I want to change is the text property. As you see, I'm putting an ampersand, which is known as access key. So it functions like a shortcut. If you hold the Alt button and the first character or the underlined character, as you see, in this case T, basically you can activate the button. Now I'm going to show you some formatting. If you want to make two buttons identical in size, for example, as you see in both, or just width or height, you can highlight the buttons and then basically do that. There are other things that you can do. In this case, as you notice, both buttons now have the same size. And if I change that one and then pick the first one, hold shift and the second one, you see that when I change the size, now the second button got the shape of the first one. So that's how we do that. For alignment, exactly the same thing. For left and center and other formatting, you go to format, and once both of them are created, you can move them around. So now it's time to show you some simple code. So for test me button, just double click and you get into the code section, and you will see private void test button, and whatever appears within the brackets is actually the method, something that we want this button do for us. And on the top you will see test button underscore click. It means that the event that is associated with this button is click. So when the user clicks on this button, this message box is going to be displayed. So as soon as I am done with the code, I need to close that by putting a semicolon. So let's go ahead and put a semicolon right there. And if you don't put that, you move the mouse and it tells you exactly what's wrong. That is squeaky. A red line means that there is an error. Once you debug that and take care of it, that is going to go away. So this is actually a method that I created for this button, and it will be activated under a click event. So let's run the program by clicking on start. As you see on the top, it goes through debugging, as you see in the bottom on the output, and then if there is no error, that is gonna actually show up. So this is the button, and when I click on that, you will see that it comes back with that message. Now if you hold your Alt and T, will do the same thing. So that was a click event. I want to show you a different type of event. Right over there under property box, you will see actually a symbol representing event. Once you click on that, all events for that specific object are going to show up. So the one that I want to use right here is going to be mouse move. So mouse move means that when the mouse is moved over the object, this is what we want to do. Double click that and you see that a method is going to be created for that, and on the top you see test button underscore mouse move. So what I want to do, I want to play a little game with the user. So let's type test button, and I want to use a property known as visible. So visible, as you see, as soon as I type the first characters of that, the IntelliSense of Visual Studio helps me to find that specific property. So what this method does is when the user moves the mouse over that button, the button is going to disappear. So we want to add another method. So let's go ahead and basically highlight that button, go to property, and this time what we want to do is actually finding a different event, and this one I want to use mouse leave. So I just saw that in a second and then I lost it. Mouse leave is right over there. Okay, so double click that, and on the top once again you will see test button underscore mouse leave. And then what I want to do, I want to just put the opposite statement that I used for the previous one. So test button visible this time is equal to true. So when the user moves the mouse away from the button, it is going to appear. So it's a little game that you play with the user. We need to put comments for everything that we do by putting double slash, and of course other methods that I will show you later on. So for this one I'm gonna just type the following code: will hide the button once the mouse is moved over the object. Okay, so that's for this part. Let's run the program, and then you will notice that when I move the mouse, the object hides and then it appears again when the mouse is moved away. Now let's code the second button that we put over there. First, we need to change the name of that and the text as we did for the first button. Remember that we need to move to properties. It was on event. So for the name, let's put exit button to just close the button. And then for the text, I'm gonna go ahead and say exit, and then put E and then ampersand XIT. So exit, and it appears like that. And then if we run that, you see that nothing of course happens, and then we go back and then code that. Okay, so right there, as usual, we go ahead and type a code and a comment the following: will close, oops, let me correct that, close the program. Okay, and now the actual code, which is this. This means this form, the current form. Anytime that you see this means the current form, and the method that I want to use is basically close. So when we click on that, the form or the program actually is going to be terminated. It's a good time to actually save the program, and there are two ways that you can save the program. And remember that there is no such a thing like save as. Never use save as. Save all. The button up there will actually save the program, or we can go to file, as you see right now, and save the program. So click on that, and of course save all. As I said, never use save as, because that is going to destroy your program. Good luck, and I hope you enjoyed the first exposure to Visual Studio.